Welcome to round 9, and I hope you are ready to stretch your abilities as a crocheter. We are going to do a stitch that's called a crab stitch or reverse single crochet. But first, we are going to work in white, and we will slip stitch our work, our last stitch of round 8, to the marked stitch. And we're going to slip stitch it and leave it. We are not going to remove the marker this time. Then we are going to go in opposite direction, and we will start with the last stitch of round 8. So after we've made a slip stitch, we're going to stretch our loop just a little bit. And then we're going to go backwards, single crochet but backwards. You're going to hold your stitch here at the base and insert your hook under both sides of the V of previous stitch, like this. It's going to be a little tight, and some things are going to be loopy like this. That's totally fine. And then we pull up a loop, and we only pull up a loop, right, in having this original loop on hook. So we have 2 loops on hook, and then we yarn over and pull through both loops on hook. It looks a little weird, but let's keep going. Now we find the next stitch. I'm holding my yarn here at the base a little bit, and I'm also holding my yarn here, the loop, so it doesn't slip off. And I go into the previous stitch, pull up a loop. I have 2 loops on hook, yarn over, pull up through both. It looks a little bulky and a little loosened, but that's how it's supposed to be. Next stitch, I'm holding here at the my previous loop, and I'm also holding the loop on the hook. I'm going into previous stitch, pulling up a loop from the back to the front. It's all looking a little crossed over. That's how it's supposed to be. Yarn over, pull through both. Holding up my loops, going into previous stitch, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through both. Holding my loop here on the hook. It's very important, more than anything. Going into previous stitch, pulling out, 2 loops on hook, yarn over, pull through both. Let's do a couple more stitches, and then to get you into the rhythm, and then we will see what it looks like. Holding here, pulling up a loop, 2 loops on hook, kind of crossed over, that's fine. Yarn over, pull through both. Next one, pulling up a loop. And I find that once you find your rhythm, it kind of gets more even as you go. And these ridges, they become the same size and not super stretched out. And I feel like my work is pulling on the other side, but that's okay. I can pull it back. This is what it's going to look like. It looks like a little ridge that's going over, and I really like this effect. If you feel like it's too difficult, I maybe recommend doing another row of single crochet around in a normal fashion and forget about the crab stitch for now, but this is a great practice for this stitch. And you may need to do it a couple times to get better at this. I am not counting my stitches because at this point it doesn't matter. I'm just going into every stitch. The most important part in the crab stitch or reverse single crochet is to hold this loop on your hook so it doesn't slip off. As I come to the end, I'm making my last stitch into the stitch right before the stitch marker. And as you see, these stitches, it's a bulky stitch. I will cut off my yarn about 6 to 8 inches. And then I'm going to make a slip stitch and pull it. And do you see how this is really big and long? So this allows me to just kind of skip my marked stitch, remove my stitch marker, and then gently connect it by a slip stitch to the first stitch, like this. And there are so many ridges that you don't see the connection. And then as you weave your ends, you will need to, let me just show you this. So let's say I'm weaving my ends on this one, and I'm using my tapestry needle, and I'm going to kind of wrap my yarn around the edge. The way it keeps that consistent look of going over it. And now I'm going to hide it in between the strands of yarn right here. Because it's a white yarn, I'm hiding it only in white. I'm not going to go into orange, maybe on the edge of it, but not really into orange. And I try to pierce through the strands of yarn, not just between the stitches. And I don't pull too hard, so this area doesn't become lower in level than the other areas. So I do that for 1 inch in one direction, then I'm going into the opposite direction for about an inch. And then one more time I'm going back. If you feel like it becomes too bulky, maybe you can get away with 2 inches, but I like mine secure so I don't have to deal with unraveling. And then I chop it off. And I will actually do the same thing with all of the other ends on the back. So this is what it looks like in the front now. And you have all these cute ridges on the front. If you like them, do the reverse single crochet. If you don't, just do another round of single crochet. And this is the back. The back looks actually very nice, and I will put these strands away by weaving them in 3 different directions between the strands of the yarn on the back. So that's the basic part of the face. The next part will be the ears.